Hey there everybody, welcome to another episode of Wargame Theory. Today I wanted to show a recent Twitch stream from the #1 Battle Royale player in the world, so we can learn a little bit from this pro. His name is It's Iron, and as of today, he has over 2,200 wins and touts a 6+ KD, so let's get started. The first thing that they do after landing is grabbing the helicopters. What is so important about this is that it gives the team two resources, time and positioning. They use those resources to find a section in the map that isn't contested and farm the cash to get their loadouts. When they get to the prison, they have all but one of the contracts that they can choose from. And which one did they choose first? They grab the recon contract. So what is so important about the recon contract? The recon contract allows them to decide on a strategy, to choose what strong points to take before other players, and helps them decide what weapons to choose. As you'll see in future pro videos, the recon contracts are some of the most sought after resources. Information is a huge advantage to have. As soon as he's done securing the recon contract, he runs over to get his loadout. Let's give them a quick look over. Most of his overkill loadouts have a form of sniper rifle in them, and his restocking kits feature stuns and claymores. Once they have their loadouts, the first item he buys is a self-revive kit and then a cluster strike, probably because he was $100 off from the airstrike. Why the self-revive? He's not being selfish actually. Self-revives will allow his team to continue fighting if he goes down, and maximize their team's ability to maintain control. You'll see this exemplified throughout the video. The next contract they take is the supply run. Once again, they're exploiting the resource of mobility to get more bang for their buck. They go to port because they thought there was a recon in it, but it's likely that another team grabbed it before they did. Instead, they settle for bounties and proceed into the circle. What's interesting here is that they don't start picking fights until they have loadouts and before they're fully comfortable with their equipment. They choose when they fight. So aside from the obvious, the self-revive allows his teammates to continue pursuing position and carry on the fight. Now, instead of reducing their firepower by 2, they are keeping the reduction at 1. So something really interesting about this fight is how the team is carrying it. They push together, but take the effort to surround the enemy and keep the pressure constant. They flush enemies from cover, which exposes them to other teammates, as you can see here repeated not once, but twice in a row. He gets a shot at the free loadout crate and decides on a kit with restock, stuns, and claymores. Having unlimited stuns means that he can aggressively clear rooms as necessary, and having claymores means that he can always be aware of enemies as they approach through the limited points of access in the buildings. Because of their previous recon mission, they've identified that the end zone will be somewhere in downtown. There's not that many recon contracts to take advantage of, so they just decide to take to the high ground. There's only two things that they really start doing here. They limit the variables by controlling the highest rooftops, and they only engage other players when they know where the other team is through the use of bounties. They use their sniper rifles to harass the other rooftops to suppress or kill the other players who would otherwise be suppressing them, and they bounce around using the helicopters to keep a higher position towards the edge of the circle whenever possible. Aside from just being on the stream, the bounty contracts serve one other crucial purpose, making sure that everybody can buy what they need for the final circles. They end up using a loadout box, 2 airstrikes, 2 self-revives, an armor box, and a munitions box. That is really expensive. The bounties allow them to reach that target. As the circles begin closing in, they are moving just ahead of the gas and begin doing something very important. They stick in pairs and move together such that they can shoot at the same target. This ends up saving Iron 3 times, and the importance of this can't be emphasized enough. By working closely with his teammates and making sure they can fire on the same targets that he is, the firefights become guaranteed wins. Even for pros, face-to-face combat is still a 50-50 ordeal. Sound tactics is what rigs the scales. Good gun skill can overcome 1v1s, but in the face of 1v2s, the odds still favor the pairs. Now they start approaching the final circles. They identify the highest pieces of terrain they can get their hands on and take it. One thing to really pay attention to is how they move together to combine their firepower whenever possible, and how they're constantly calling out when they crack enemies or where they are. So check this out. Even if he lost the gunfight, his two teammates were right behind him and would have saved him before it could have been killed. Again, teamwork lets them take back the rooftop position. His teammate targets an airstrike, which forces their opponent to back off. Because he has teammates, he's allowed to be as aggressive as he needs to be, even though he doesn't carry shotguns or submachine guns. This part's really funny. The reason they bought the let-out crate earlier was so that they could block off one of the stairways. That's one less spot they have to watch out for. Then they just put claymores on the other, and the rooftop is theirs. It's just their team versus another now. What I think is so interesting here is how Iron gatekeeps. He plays to his AR by keeping his distance and tries to mix up his head level to get any advantage he can in the absence of really good cover. His mate is able to finish the job though, and they get the victory. So just remember, good strategy is the key to success at all levels of play. You don't have to be the best Slayer on the team. You don't have to shoot better than everybody else. You just have to think one step ahead. Give yourself the chance to be prepared and win the next gunfight. That's it for now. I'll see you next time.